Good afternoon, everyone. So for Module 6, the brainstem, we'll be discussing the pons and reticular formation. So your pons is located superior to your medulla and anterior to your cerebellum, and it mostly consists of both your nuclei and your tracts. So as you can see, it is located sa mga medulla and sa mga cerebellum. So you have connections there, or that your pons will serve as the bridge. Okay, so the pons is a bridge that connects your medulla oblongata to your midbrain, as well as it connects parts of your brain with one another, such as your left and right sides of your cerebellum, as well as your ascending sensory tracts and descending motor tracts. So you have two major structural components. You have first your ventral region, or your basal part. So it forms a large synaptic relay station called your pontine nuclei. Take note that your pontine nuclei provides a connection between your cerebral cortex and your opposite cerebellar hemisphere. Again, your pontine nuclei, so siya ang kakonect sa mga cerebrum to the opposite cerebellum. Okay, cerebral cortex to the opposite cerebellar hemisphere. Okay, so you also have there your middle cerebellar peduncles, as well as your basilar groove. Okay, so remember, in your circle of Willis, you have, if mag-merge ang duwa ka vertebral body or vertebral artery, it will form your basilar artery. Okay, so basically your basilar groove houses your basilar artery. So the main function of your ventral region or basal part is that it is for coordinating and for maximizing the efficiency of your voluntary motor output. Next, you have the dorsal region, or your tegmentum. So it mainly contains your ascending and descending tracts along the nuclei of your cranial nerves. So again, your tegmentum consists of your tracts as well as the nuclei of your cranial nerves. So you have there your superior cerebellar peduncles as well as your median sulcus. Okay, so you can also see there your pontine respiratory group, in which it helps you control your breathing. Okay, so remember si pula. Okay, your pneumotaxic center is located in your upper pons, and your apneusic center is located sa kay lower pons. Okay, so you can say that your pons will help you control your breathing. Okay, so I've mentioned earlier about the cranial nerves. So what are those cranial nerves? Okay, so you have 4 pairs of cranial nerves that arises on your pons. First is your trigeminal, or your cranial nerve number 5, in which it is responsible for your head and face sensations, as well as for mastication or chewing. Next is cranial nerve number 6. Okay, it is mainly for the movement of your eyeball, especially if you are moving your eyeball laterally. Next, your cranial nerve number 7. It is mainly for taste, as well as secretion of your saliva, your tears, as well as muscles for facial expression. Then lastly, you have your vestibulocochlear nerve, your cranial nerve number 8, for balance and equilibrium. So again, 4 pairs of cranial nerves that arises on your pons. You have your cranial nerve number 5, 6, 7, and 8. Next would be your reticular formation. So this is a continuous network of nerve cells or nerve fibers that extends from your spinal cord to the medulla, pons, and midbrain, as well as your subthalamus, hypothalamus, and thalamus towards your cerebrum. So you can say that these are just your nerve fibers that extends from your spinal cord to your brainstem to your diencephalon until it terminates to in your cerebrum. So your reticular formation is further divided into 3 longitudinal columns. You have your lateral column that contains mainly of small neurons, your medial column containing large neurons, and your median column consisting of intermediate sized neurons. Okay, so remember here, lateral column for small neurons, medial column for large neurons, and median column for intermediate sized neurons. Then you have your polysynaptic pathways. So you can see that there are many connections within your reticular formation. So you have polysynaptic pathways. You have crossed as well as uncrossed ascending and descending pathways that will both influence your skeletal activity, your somatic and visceral sensations, your autonomic and endocrine systems, as well as the level of consciousness. Now let's discuss the functions of your reticular formation. First is the control of skeletal muscles. So you have certain tracts that will stimulate your motor neurons to modulate muscle tone, as well as reflex activity. It also functions for reciprocal inhibition. It means that when your agonist muscles contract, your antagonist muscles relaxes. Next, it functions to control your respiratory muscles as well as your muscles for facial expression, as long as it is linked to an emotion. Okay, so for example, when a person smiles or laughs in response to a joke. So the motor control that is provided by your reticular formation is occurring on both sides of the brain. Next, you have control of somatic and visceral sensations. So it can either be facilitative or your inhibitory. So it plays a key role in the gating mechanism or your gate control theory, okay, for the control of pain perception. So yes, your reticular formation plays a role in the control of your pain. Next, control of autonomic nervous system. So you have there your stimulus from your central nervous system that will send signals towards your tracts, okay, in order to stimulate your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Next, you have control of endocrine nervous system. Okay, so it is associated with the function of your hypothalamus, as well as next function, it influences your biologic clock. So you have afferent and efferent pathways to the hypothalamus that will eventually release your hormones. Okay, it can either be a releasing hormone or inhibitory hormone. Next, the reticular activating system. So it functions mainly for arousal and level of consciousness. Okay, especially it occurs in your cerebral cortex. So in this, your acetylcholine plays a key role as an excitatory neurotransmitter. So incoming pain sensations greatly excites the cerebral cortex. So in patients na comatose, so possibly that the level of consciousness is affected, you can say that the reticular activating system or the reticular formation is also affected. So you have two internal biological mechanisms. First is your circadian rhythm. So you are very familiar with this. So it refers to the daily fluctuations of wakefulness to body temperature, metabolism, or release of hormones. So those factors can actually affect your circadian rhythm. Okay, so this is just your body's biologic clock, okay, that will control the timing of your sleep and wakefulness. So you have there a nucleus. Okay, so this is your chief hypothalamic nucleus, okay, called your suprachiasmatic nucleus, okay, your SCN. So this is just your body's master clock. So you have an input from a tract called your retinohypothalamic tract, in which it is directly activated by light. So that tract will send signal towards your suprachiasmatic nucleus. So it will synchronize with the environment cues like the light, the temperature, about the actual time of the day. You also have the function of your pineal gland that will release your melatonin, a sleep hormone. So more melatonin is liberated or produced during darkness than in light. So this hormone is thought to promote sleepiness and daily rhythm. So as you can see in your room, if it's dark, okay, but it will promote sleepiness. Okay, your melatonin it can also be seen in your sleeping pills. Next, we have your sleep-wake homeostasis. So this keeps track of your need for sleep. So this will remind your body to sleep after a certain time and regulates the sleep intensity. So factors may include your medical conditions, your medications, your stress, your sleep environment, and basically what you eat or drink. It will influence, okay, your sleep and wake homeostasis. Okay, so exposure to light, there will be specialized cells in your retina that will process light and tell your brain whether it is night or day, and can eventually advance or delay your sleep-wake cycle. So very apparently if you are traveling to other places, that the person will eventually experience your jet lag. So within your reticular formation, you have there again your reticular activating system, or your RAS. So the ascending portion, it mainly functions for the consciousness and to maintain attention and alertness. So it consists of sensory axons that will project towards your thalamus and your cerebral cortex. You have certain factors or stimuli like your visual and auditory stimuli, your mental activities, your pain, touch, pressure receptors, as well as your proprioceptors. Okay, so those will influence the function of your RAS. So inactivation of your RAS will lead you to sleep, as well as drugs such as your melatonin or your general anesthesia. This will turn off your consciousness or will allow you to sleep. So if the ascending portion of your RAS mainly functions for the consciousness, the descending portion mainly functions for the autonomic as well as the motor activity. So there are connections to the cerebellum and your spinal cord that will help you regulate the muscle tone, and this will assist in the regulation of your heart rate, your blood pressure, and respiratory rate or respiration. So again, you have there the mnemonic na pula. Okay, so your pneumotaxic center, it can be seen on your upper pons, and your apneusic center can be seen on the lower pons. Okay, so even though your RAS receives input from the eyes, ears, and other sensory receptors, there is no input from receptors for the sense of smell. Even strong odors may fail to cause arousal. So people who died in house fires usually are involved in smoke inhalation without awakening or without arousal. So for this reason, so all sleeping areas should have a nearby smoke detector that will emit a loud alarm. Okay, so when you are asleep, usually your sense of smell is inactivated. That is why there are smoke alarm that will help you trigger by that sound.